Jay-Z is setting Diddy up.
Jay's definitely.
Jay helped you?
Yeah.
How did you
As a competitor.
explain it?
Yeah, because he never was someone that you communicate with that you're like friends with the person. But I always respected him because he was never an actual competitor in actual fact. He was someone who was a competitor to perception.
How close was Diddy and Jay-Z? They was close enough that they wasn't playing basketball, they wasn't playing baseball, they wasn't playing football, and they wasn't playing hockey or soccer for Diddy to come on stage, pat him on his and then make a statement to people in the world that can't nobody call me Sean but Jay-Z.
And B was, one time she jumped off of the ledge. He ain't running over because she thought me and Jay had issues, and I was like, I was like, did she really just jump down and run over here like that?
Beyonce jumped off a ledge.
Yeah, what happened? It was in the Cosmopolitan, huh?
Right. She really a superhero.
She jumped down and no, she was like, this what? Like that Bonnie and Clyde for real? You try this or what, boy? I'm here.
Word.
Sound like at me. I said,
was Solange with her?
She looked at me like.
Nobody expected 50 Cent to whisper instead of shout. But that's exactly why the internet froze when his warning to Jay-Z and Beyoncé dropped. No rant, no emojis, no punchline. Just a chilling message that sounded less like drama and more like someone tapping the glass before it cracks. One sentence perfectly placed. And suddenly the most untouchable couple in music had the timeline holding its breath. This wasn't a diss track. This wasn't a joke. This was the kind of warning that makes fans panic and PR teams quietly review calendars. Because when 50 Cent talks like this, history says he's not fishing for attention. He's letting anticipation do the damage. Almost instantly, the internet went into overdrive. Old interviews resurfaced. Lyrics were re-examined like classified documents. Business moves that once looked genius suddenly felt interesting. And just like that, Jay-Z and Beyoncé's flawless image had a countdown clock slapped on it by pure implication alone. No proof. No receipts. Just vibes so heavy they made the Kardashians look like they overshare. And the scariest part? Nobody knew if this was a bluff, a pressure test, or the opening scene of something much bigger. The internet didn't lose its mind because 50 Cent yelled. It lost its mind because he didn't. When the warning aimed at Jay-Z and Beyoncé surfaced, it arrived without theatrics, without emojis, without the usual circus that comes with celebrity drama. It landed calmly, confidently, like someone setting a glass down before delivering bad news. And that calm was terrifying. In hip-hop culture, loud threats are cheap. Quiet warnings are priceless, especially when they come from someone who's made a career out of watching powerful people sweat without ever raising his voice. 50 Cent didn't accuse. He didn't explain. He hinted. And that hint did more damage than a full rant ever could. The choice of targets turned curiosity into panic instantly. Jay-Z and Beyoncé aren't just famous. They're untouchable by design. Their image is so polished it feels engineered in a lab. Billion-dollar branding, airtight optics, cultural royalty status. They don't stumble into mess. Mess bounces off them. Which is exactly why a warning like this felt radioactive. You don't warn the crown unless you believe there's a crack. Somewhere under the gold. Fans didn't wait for confirmation. They went straight into investigation mode. Old interviews resurfaced overnight. Lyrics were replayed like they were hiding messages between the bars. Business moves that once looked visionary suddenly felt strategic in a new way. The internet wasn't reacting emotionally anymore. It was reacting methodically. That's when you know something hit a nerve. Sarcasm showed up, but it was nervous sarcasm. Jokes about 50 Cent season loading and lawyers updating their LinkedIn filled timelines. But the laughter felt forced. Like people laughing during turbulence while checking the seatbelt sign. Everyone remembered history. They remembered that when 50 hints instead of jokes, something usually follows. What poured gasoline on the situation was the silence from Jay-Z and Beyoncé's camp. No denial, no dismissal. No carefully crafted PR statement reminding everyone how unbothered they are. Just quiet. And silence from people who normally control narratives down to the punctuation doesn't read as confidence. It reads as calculation. Fans immediately split over what it meant, and none of the interpretations were calm. Blogs rushed in like they sensed blood in the water. Headlines sharpened the warning into something darker with every repost. Chilling, panic, exposure looming. Context was trimmed. Speculation expanded. The story grew faster than facts could catch up, which is exactly how panic culture thrives. The conspiracy threads didn't treat this like random trolling. They treated it like a signal. People started connecting dots between industry politics, old business relationships, and power structures that rarely get discussed openly. Not because there was proof, but because the timing felt intentional. When implication comes from someone with a long memory, people assume it's rooted in something real. 50 Cent's reputation made the warning impossible to ignore. This isn't someone known for bluffing quietly. He's known for circling moments before they explode. Sometimes he's early, sometimes he's adjacent, but he's rarely clueless. That history turned a vague statement into a flashing red light. Even people who don't like him admitted the tone felt deliberate. Defenders of Jay-Z and Beyoncé jumped in fast, accusing 50 of clout chasing, psychological trolling, or trying to stir drama for relevance. And on paper, those arguments made sense. But they couldn't answer the one question everyone kept circling back to. Why now? Why this tone? Why no punchline? It didn't sound like someone chasing virality. It sounded like someone reminding the room that receipts age well. Memes tried to lighten the mood, but even they carried unease. Jokes about PR teams in emergency meetings and the Bayhive on red alert felt less like comedy and more like acknowledgement. The humor didn't calm anyone down. It validated the tension everyone already felt. What escalated things further was 50's refusal to clarify. He didn't elaborate. He didn't walk it back. He didn't double down either. He let the warning sit there like a sealed envelope on a desk everyone could see but nobody could open. That's not how people act when they're bluffing. That's how people act when they're waiting. Speculation shifted from content to motive. Was this about old business rivalry? Industry politics? Personal grudges? Power dynamics nobody wants to say out loud. Every theory felt possible because none felt ridiculous. And that's the danger zone. When imagination starts feeling logical, panic becomes contagious. The warning also reignited long-standing conversations about image versus reality. Jay-Z and Beyoncé have mastered public perception at a level few ever reach. That mastery is impressive, but it also makes people curious about what stays off camera. 50's warning didn't accuse. It invited imagination. And imagination is more dangerous than accusation because it never needs proof to grow. As the hours passed, the energy didn't cool down. It evolved. Panic shifted into anticipation. Fans stopped refreshing for proof and started refreshing for the next move. A response. A denial. Another cryptic post. Anything. Silence stretched longer. And with every hour, the warning felt heavier. That's when it became clear this wasn't meant to conclude anything. This was an opening act. A destabilizer. A reminder that even the most untouchable images can wobble when implication enters the room. Because once doubt is introduced at this level, it doesn't leave quietly. It sits, it watches. And it turns every future silence into another question. Once the warning settled into the bloodstream of the timeline, the internet didn't calm down. It reorganized. Panic shifted from reaction to preparation. People stopped asking what did he mean and started asking when does it drop. That's the moment a rumor becomes a countdown. Memes were the first responders. Because humor is how people cope when something feels off. Screenshots of 50 Cent's words were plastered next to ticking clocks. Dramatic soundtracks and captions like Act 2 loading. The jokes landed, but the laughter was nervous. You could feel it. This wasn't the usual playful trolling. This was comedy used as a pressure valve. Blogs poured gasoline without hesitation. Headlines multiplied, each one louder than the last, recycling the same sentence with new adjectives. Chilling. Ominous. Panic sets in. Context got thinner. Speculation got thicker. The algorithm rewarded urgency. So urgency became the story. Celebrity reactions slipped in sideways, never direct, always vague. No one said names, but everyone knew what they were referencing. Quotes about truth surfacing. Posts about protecting your legacy. Someone joked about quiet billionaires moving loud. The timing did all the talking. The internet treats coincidence like confirmation when it's already anxious. The Bayhive mobilized with surgical precision. Defenders flooded comment sections, calling the warning baseless and manipulative. They accused 50 Cent of psychological trolling and clout chasing. And those arguments made sense. But even within the defense, there was tension. The warning didn't sound random, and nobody could convincingly explain why J-Z single quotes S name carried a different gravity in the conversation. Fans didn't just defend, they contextualized. They revisited his evolution from artist to mogul, his influence across industries, his long history of navigating power structures most people never see. The warning felt less personal and more systemic, which made it harder to dismiss as petty beef. Speculation grew elaborate by the hour. Industry politics, old alliances, quiet rivalries. People stitched together timelines like they were building a documentary trailer. None of it was proven. All of it felt plausible. That's the danger zone, where imagination starts wearing the mask of logic. 50 Cent's silence during this phase did the most damage.
He didn't clarify.
He didn't deny. He didn't escalate. He waited. That posture unsettled people more than any rant ever could. It didn't look like someone chasing attention. It looked like someone watching reactions roll in and taking notes. Fans noticed the pattern. They compared it to past moments when 50 hinted before something actually surfaced. The resemblance was close enough to be uncomfortable. He wasn't acting surprised by the chaos.
He was acting like he expected it. The jokes got darker.
Less punchlines, more warnings disguised as humor. This feels different. Why does this sound serious? Feels different. Why does this sound serious?
I don't like the tone. When the audience starts questioning tone instead of content, you know the mood has shifted. Silence from Jay-Z and Beyoncé's camp continued, and that silence became its own storyline. No rebuttal, no reassurance, no polished PR statement reminding everyone how unbothered they are. Fans argued whether staying quiet was strategic genius or dangerous arrogance. In online culture, silence is a gamble. It can signal confidence or calculation. Nobody could agree which one this was. Industry watchers quietly recalibrated. No public statements, no dramatic moves. Just hesitation. And hesitation spreads. When people at the top pause, everyone below them slows down instinctively. Momentum wobbles. Conversations change tone. Even unrelated news gets filtered through the same anxious lens. The conspiracy threads reached peak intensity when people started reinterpreting unrelated events as breadcrumbs. Old award show moments, business announcements, past interviews. Everything became suspicious by proximity. That's the cost of open-ended warnings. They turn coincidence into pattern and curiosity into certainty. Critics pushed back hard, calling the panic manufactured. They argued that implication without evidence shouldn't hold this much power. They were right in theory, but culture doesn't run on theory. It runs on feeling. And the feeling this warning created refused to fade. The idea of timing took over the conversation. Fans stopped debating if something would happen and started debating when. Every day without follow-up didn't calm the situation. It sharpened it. Anticipation replaced outrage. Waiting replaced arguing. Memes slowed, replaced by long posts and breakdown videos. When content shifts from jokes to essays, it means the audience has crossed into obsession. People weren't reacting anymore. They were preparing. The warning began to feel less like a threat and more like a pressure test. How would fans react? How would silence be interpreted? How much doubt could be introduced without proof? 50 Cent didn't need to say another word. The experiment was already running. By the end of this phase, the original message had grown far beyond its words. It wasn't about exposure anymore. It was about vulnerability. About whether even the most polished images can be destabilized by implication alone. And the scariest part was this. Nothing had actually happened yet. No receipts. No reveal. No confirmation. Just a warning doing laps around the internet, growing heavier with every interpretation. That's when people realized the real escalation wasn't going to be loud. It was going to be quiet. A reaction. A denial. A single misstep that would either shut everything down or let it back up. When the internet finally stopped screaming, that's when the warning started doing its real work. Not through headlines or hashtags, but through discomfort. The kind that settles into conversations and refuses to leave. Nothing had been exposed. Nothing had been confirmed. And yet, the feeling lingered like a shadow in a well-lit room. That's the power of implication when it's delivered by the right voice. Jay-Z and Beyoncé didn't need to respond for the atmosphere to change. Every unrelated headline, every public appearance, every business announcement suddenly carried an invisible footnote. Fans weren't just reading news anymore. They were scanning it, listening for tone, watching for cracks. When silence stretches long enough, people stop asking what's true and start asking what's being protected. Supporters argued that staying quiet was the smartest play. Don't dignify rumors. Don't amplify speculation. Let the noise starve itself. That strategy works when the noise is random. It struggles when the noise comes from someone known for precision. The longer the silence lasted, the more the warning felt intentional. Like a chess move meant to force patience into panic. 50 Cent didn't escalate. And that restraint unsettled people more than any rant could have. He didn't clarify. He didn't backtrack. He didn't wink at the camera. He stayed still. That posture suggested confidence, not chaos. The confidence of someone who knows the room is already unsettled and doesn't need to push further. In moments like this, stillness reads as control. Industry conversations reportedly shifted in tone. Not loudly, not publicly, but noticeably. Jokes stopped. Language got careful. Meetings felt quieter. That's always the tell. When humor disappears, it means people are recalculating risk. In entertainment, risk doesn't destroy empires overnight. It slows them. It complicates them. It makes people hesitate before picking up the phone. The warning didn't fracture Jay-Z and Beyoncé's image, but it scratched the glass. And scratches don't need to be deep to change how light passes through. Their brand has always been about elevation and control, a sense of being above the mess by design. The idea that someone could even hint at exposure disrupted that illusion, even without evidence. Doubt doesn't need proof to travel. Fans started debating outcomes instead of origins. Some believed nothing would happen, framing the moment as psychological warfare designed to rattle the timeline and nothing more. Others insisted something was inevitable, arguing that warnings like this aren't dropped casually. The divide wasn't about belief. It was about trust. Who you trust shapes what you fear. The conversation slowly shifted away from 50 Cent himself and toward the system. Power, image management. Who gets protected? Who gets questioned? The warning reopened long-standing debates about how much of celebrity life is performance and how much stays hidden by design. Once that curiosity wakes up, it doesn't go back to sleep easily. The longer nothing happened, the heavier the situation felt. Anticipation replaced outrage. People stopped yelling and started waiting. Waiting is more dangerous than shouting. Waiting invites imagination, and imagination fills gaps with worst-case scenarios. Every unrelated controversy felt like it could somehow connect. Every delay felt intentional. Jay-Z and Beyoncé remained successful, visible and composed, but the air around them felt thicker. Not damaged, not shaken, just burdened with speculation they didn't ask for and couldn't fully control. That's the cost of implication. You don't need proof to disrupt perception. You just need doubt introduced by the right person at the right moment. Behind the scenes, the ripple effects extended beyond them. Other artists, executives, and insiders became more guarded. The warning served as a reminder that history doesn't disappear. It goes quiet. That reminder alone can change behavior. People revisit old decisions. Clean up language. Prepare for questions that haven't been asked yet. What unsettled audiences most was the lack of closure. No reveal, no denial, no escalation. Just a warning sitting in the cultural bloodstream like an unresolved chord. The internet hates unfinished stories, but it obsesses over them. Every time the couple trended for something positive, The warning resurfaced in comments like muscle memory. Critics eventually tried to dismiss the moment as overblown paranoia. They argued that implication without evidence shouldn't hold this much power. They were right in theory, but culture doesn't run on theory. It runs on feeling. And the feeling this warning created refused to fade completely. The real aftermath wasn't public embarrassment or scandal. It was discomfort. The subtle shift from certainty to curiosity. The awareness that even the most untouchable images can wobble when implication enters the room. That awareness lingers longer than outrage ever does. As time passed, the story drifted off the trending page, replaced by the next meltdown, the next leak, the next spectacle. But this warning didn't disappear. It stayed bookmarked in collective memory. The kind of moment people reference later and say, that's when things started feeling different. And that's the final twist. The most powerful warnings don't end with explosions. They end with silence. With rooms that feel quieter than they should. With people watching each other more closely than before. Because whether anything ever comes of it or not, 50 Cent didn't need to expose anything to change the temperature. He only needed to remind the internet of one uncomfortable truth. If you made it this far, don't lie to yourself. That warning is living rent-free in your head. You didn't just watch this, you felt it. You replayed the tone, side-eyed the silence, and started wondering why nobody rushed to shut this down. So go ahead and smash that like button like it just made you uncomfortable. Because discomfort is usually where the truth starts peeking through the cracks. Drop a comment and say it straight. Was 50 Cent playing psychological chess, or do you think he knows something the rest of the internet isn't ready to hear yet? Is this just master-level trolling or the calm before a very expensive storm? No fence-sitting? Pick a side and defend it, because neutrality disappears the moment a warning hits this cold and calculated. And if you're not subscribed yet, that's dangerous behavior. You already know how this goes. Today it's a warning. Tomorrow it's a cryptic post. Next week someone's breaking silence without actually saying anything. While other channels wait for headlines to spoon-feed them answers, we track patterns, read between pauses, and explain why the silence matters more than the noise. Hit subscribe so you don't miss the next move when the story either explodes or quietly confirms everything people fear. Turn on notifications too, because real scandals don't drop on schedules. They hit late, unexpected, and right after someone decides they're done playing nice. When that moment comes, you'll want to already be here and